It is basically a predefined structure. It is a predefined structure which is goal oriented with the effort of the individual as well as the structure for achieving the goals of the organization. So what is being seen on the slide, we can say formal organization is a goal-oriented entity that exists to accurate the effort of the individuals, and it refers to the structure of the job and the position with clearly defined function, responsibilities and authorities. Obviously, if it is predefined, it has to be rigid in nature. Now, what you could see in this slide, on one side is the depiction of what we say position and power, which will vary from company to company. Here, like we can see chairman, then vice chairman, then within it various departments like your audit, human resource, legal, construction, financial and marketing. And within it we are going for further sub-classifications. Whenever we are going for this, now the structure might vary from company to company. Like somewhere we might have president, vice president, then board of directors, then your shareholders, general manager, followed by the departmentation part. The objective of going for this is to facilitate the accomplishment of the goal of the organization and ensure that there is proper coordination between various activities, to aid the establishment of logical authority relationships, to aid the establishment of division of labor and create a group cohesiveness. Now, later on will come in our next series of this chapter in part C about what are the two concerned types of formal organization which we are to work. Here we are only restricting ourselves to formal organization, what exactly it is, its objective. So it is predefined, rigid in nature and with the purpose of achieving organizational objective. If we characterized it as points, the first one we can say well-defined rules and regulations which are penned down. Then it's a predetermined objectives and policies for which the company has to work in terms of objective and policies which helps in decision making. Then the third is limitation on the activities of the individual. Individual as a person is an instrument in the organization or is one of the resource in the organization to achieve the organizational goal. So we limit that activity of an individual as a resource only, not beyond that. Then fourth, strict observation and abiding of principles of coordination. Fifth, the messages are communicated through usually vertical chain or whatever is the predefined chain. And formal organization at times gives you status symbol also. Status symbol that you are working with this organization, you are working at this particular post. So it goes with status. Now, if we talk of the limitations of formal organization, there is rigidity. At times, if we are very mechanical in nature, saying this is my rule, regulation, you are not a human being, you have to work as a machine. Why? Because you are one of the resource. The rigidity is there, and it hampers human beings' work efficiency somewhere or other. Then, too much of rigidity in terms of taking decision leads to slowness in the processing of any decision. The thing becomes slow or it slows down because of various channels which had been preset. Then, next is unknowingly, knowingly, we'll find a communication barrier creeping in the system. If I, as a boss, I ask my subordinate, please tell me what are the lacunas within me which I can rectify in the benefit of the organization, maybe you will never speak out because the concept of yes, boss, my boss is always right, would not allow you to speak out the fact. But if I ask you in a general conversation, in an informal situation, maybe having a cup of tea at my residence, and you know that I have some other intimate relation with you, maybe you will come up with honest feeling or confessions regarding the errors in me. Then the quality of decisions could not be very much relied because they are only based on pre-specified rules, regulations, and what could be physically seen in terms of structure. What could be physically seen in terms of structure. Then, whenever we say grievance handling or sorting out a problem detection, it takes time because usually it is only when the problem takes a huge form that the superior is aware of it. So problem detection is a bit slow. So this is where we are coming with the formal one. Now we are coming to informal organization. The way we say formal wear, that means wherever you have to go according to the occasion, according to the place, according to the organization, you have to dress up. Whereas when I say casual wear, informal wear, that means you are free. So informal organization is more towards socialization aspect, and knowingly, unknowingly, slowly, people of same mentality, they come together and form a group. They form a group. There could be some common, or there should be a common interest or reason binding this group. We are sorry to give that example, but in many organizations, you will find people form groups according to their caste, according to their area from where they belong. For example, they say Biharis ka a group is there. People from different states, they have their own this thing. Or people having similar nature of problem. 2 to 3 people, all of them having their children at +2 level, which is a very critical stage in the life of the child because your career settlement is to take place. Therefore, you need to go for discussing as to what to decide, how to decide, and accordingly you go for ensuring that you're discussing the thing in order to take decisions for your children. So what it is said over here, that it is interlocking social structure that governs how people work together in practice. It is an aggregate of behavior, interaction, norms, personal and professional connections through which work gets done, and the relationships are being built among people who share common organizational affiliation or clusters of affiliation. Right? Next, we come down to a very important thing when you're seeing along with the characteristic, the structure of informal organization, that informal organization has no separate existence. It has no separate existence. And it is intentionally promoted at times by the authorities so that a sense of belongingness can be created. It has a temporary life, no doubt about it. It's temporary. Till we have common understanding, common interest, we are together. The day it is over, we get over to our own work or position. This is why you will find that in this diagram, people of different interest. For example, some interested in sports, they have their own group. Some in some other activity, they have their own. Some kids with the same age group, they are having a common group. So, informal organization does not exist independently. It does not exist independently. I am again repeating. It is within the formal organization that the informal organization develops. Now, if we characterize it, it is evolving constantly. Every time a new group will come out, you will find new people with new interest area, and it's the best way of motivating your employees. Best way of motivating, that you feel something beyond your work also is there. And we are treating our people not only as an individual resource, but as a human being. As a human being, they have emotions, they have connectivity, they feel that they are a part of organization, a sense of belongingness. It is difficult to pin down, no doubt about it, and it is essential for the situations that change quickly or are not yet fully understood. Or are not yet fully understood. For example, I'll take a small example. Maybe as a CMD of the company, you have a person from your own village whom you have hired as a gatekeeper or as a canteen employee. Right? There shouldn't be any relationship in between a CMD and a canteen employee or a gatekeeper. Officially, there should be. But informally, since they both belong to the same village, maybe that particular person is residing in the outhouse or the servant quarter of the CMD, he is giving all the informations and he has a sense of security also. A sense of security that my CMD will take care of me. We are from the same village. So here what happens, it will help you to understand the problems of the people at that level, because that peon or that canteen employee is a representative of those people, giving you all the things without any fear of power. Without any fear of power. He's telling you everything. So normally what happens, this informal organization is a ground for ventilating rumors also in certain cases, and in certain cases, yes, it is very helpful for taking decisions. It gives a backing, support to what you have formally taken through. Now if we come down to the benefits of informal organization, overall the system is a better version of what it should be. It is a better in terms of it becomes a social entity with live wire human beings working in it. Then the work environment is good, lighter workload on the management, people are self-motivated to help each other. Then there is a satisfaction level within the group because of the safety value for the emotions. You are more confident that your colleague will help you in case of need. Organization may not also. So this feeling also is very important, that yes, there is a cohesiveness among the employees. That sense of security among the employees, that will be together in case of any adversity. It channelizes the communication faster, and it helps you to plan and act carefully. No matter what you coordinate, the cooperation comes from this informal organization only. It comes from this informal organization because, as we have already said, cooperation is an attitude of people, and it's only when you have that blend of mind, your mindset is there to help, that you will help. Then it encourages and improves the qualitative managerial practices. Now we come down to the functions of informal organization. They are providing social controls in many ways, both within the society as well as in the organization. Then the communication among the members is of a better quality. You are at a comfortable position to communicate. Next is, you perpetuate the cultural and social values. And finally, your satisfaction level, social status and satisfaction level, that you're working in an organization where people are together with human values, increases. But then the problems are also there with the informal organization. People resist to change, and that also in group. This groupism becomes a problem here, because all will resist together if you want to bring a drastic change. Then role conflict when it comes to work on official parameter is a problem. Who will do what? We are working in group. Work is not specified. Then rumors. This is the biggest problem. We'll be working out in directing chapter with informal communication. This organization ventilates rumors. Fire in the den, run, run, run. Who has seen the fire? Nobody knows. But everybody is running. So this has to be checked out. Then somewhere conformity and discipline part. People are not giving that weightage to rules and regulations. You feel I know this person, he is my boss, so what? Even if I'm 15 minutes late, he will overlook. So you're undermining the discipline part. Then power politics is the biggest problem. One person from a particular community or group, that community or group is a privileged group. With the change in the boss, the second group becomes the privileged group. Then we have interpersonal and intergroup conflicts, which at this informal level, when gets aggravated, directly hampers your organizational objective because your formal structure is being disturbed because of it. Your formal structure is being disturbed out of it. With this, we are in a position to compare and contrast in terms of differences for formal and informal, what we say on the basis of definition. Formal has its own rules, regulations to be followed by the members, and it's a system of coordination and authority. Okay? Informal is not having any predefined rules, regulations. There is no system of coordination or authority or a pre-specified superior. Anybody whom you feel is having that convincing power becomes a leader by choice, and the grapevine communication prevails. Then, usually formal structure is formed by the top level authorities or management in the form of organization structure, and informal is by the social forces which are acting within the formal organization. That is why we said it is not existing on its own. Then rules and regulations, in case of formal, they are rigid and in written. Okay? In case of informal, there's nothing of this sort. Nothing, no written rules, regulations, no compulsion to follow. Maximum, if you are not interested in it, you can quit off that group. Next is duties and responsibilities. In case of formal, these duties, responsibilities and accountability is well defined. And in case of informal, since there is no objective in terms of organizational objective, therefore no fixed duties, responsibilities or accountability. Then what is the purpose, goal or objective of having this structure? For formal, it is very clear that it is well defined in terms of organizational objective, including growth, expansion, productivity. Whereas in case of informal, it is a bit vague. It is a bit vague. They are only giving you a sense of security through friendship, common interest, and last but not the least, what is the benefit out of it? What is the benefit? When we are in the formal structure, it's a direct relation of your position, power, work with your financial benefit or non-financial also, in terms of remuneration, perks, salaries, allowances, and other benefits being given to you like your health insurance. Whereas in informal, you get the social and personal benefit of a community group belongingness, which satisfies your sentiments more. It's not affecting your pocket, it is satisfying your sentiments, the psychological aspect. With this, we end up the difference between formal and informal. I'm thankful for all those who had subscribed and are continuously with me. I'm happy to work with the young students who are at the critical stage of deciding their career. I can only say few quotations which would keep on motivating. This one is by Nelson Mandela ji, that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Thank you very much.